So, what are the ingredients or excipients used in suspension apart from flagellating agent? Flagellating agent is completed. Second one is sweetening agents, preservatives, sequestering agents, and buffers. So all of you try to listen. Sweetening agents are we are adding. Why means if drug is bitter, the patient is unable to take or not interested to take that one. So that's why we are adding sweetening agents in the suspension in order to increase the palatability, means patient's acceptance. In order to increase the patient acceptance. So majorly sucrose we are using. Sucrose is more sweetening. Sucrose is more sweet disaccharide. Sucrose is more sweet disaccharide. Hence we are using majorly as a sucrose syrup. In the syrups, sucrose is there. Remaining sweetening agents we can discuss it in tablet. Next one is preservative. Why we are adding preservative in the suspension means, see, whenever we have added the suspending agents nothing but we are adding this. Suspending agents we are adding this gel structure to the suspension in order to increase the stability, stability of the emulsion. So we are adding this suspending agent, and sweeteners we are also using in the suspension. Both these are responsible for the proper growth media for the microorganism. These are support the microorganism growth. Suspending agents and sweeteners responsible for the microorganism's growth. So in order to prevent the microorganism growth, however, we cannot remove the suspending agents and sweeteners from the suspension. So hence we are giving the preservatives, the agents which are inhibit the growth of microorganism to prevent the growth of microbial growth. So we are using preservatives. What kind of preservative? Alcohol, ethanol. Under the alcohol, ethanol, propylene glycol, benzyl alcohol. Next one is cationic surfactant, benzalkonium chloride, means ammonium compounds. We have discussed it, surfactants, cationic surfactants. Why we are using this means benzalkonium chloride having positive charge. This positive charge interact with negative charged phospholipids of the cell membranes, thereby they will inhibit the growth of microorganisms. Next one, paraben, methyl paraben, propyl paraben. We are widely using this. Next, acid. Under acid, sorbic acid and benzoic acid. Sorbic acid and benzoic acid we are using. So these are examples of preservatives. Next one is sequestering agents. Complexing agent is different, sequestering agent is different. Complexing agent means the agent which will bind to the ions, metal ions. We can call it as a complexing agent. If the complexing agent forming bond to the ion that is soluble in water, then we can call it as sequestering agent. So however, the complexing agent we are not using. Sometimes the complexing agent may be soluble in water, sometimes the complexing agent may not soluble in water. So the whatever the soluble complexing agent we can call it as sequestering agent. Hence we are using in the suspension. Suspension majorly contains water. Hence we are using sequestering agents. Generally water majorly contains ions, pyrogens, microorganisms. Under the ions, whatever the ions present in the suspension we need to remove, otherwise the suspension may get oxidative degradation due to the presence of these ions, metal ions, calcium, sodium. The metal ions responsible for the oxidative degradation of drug. Hence, in order to inhibit the ions, catching the ions, so these ions are not available for the drug in order to oxidize. Hence we are using sequestering agents. Ions captured by sequestering agents. Pyrogens are there. In parental suspension, we need to remove pyrogens. In topical, oral we cannot remove these pyrogens. This will not absorb through GIT. So in parental suspension, definitely we need to remove pyrogen. Next, microorganism. Microorganism is there. If the microorganism is there, just we are giving the preservative, they will inhibit the growth of microorganisms. they will inhibit the growth of microorganisms, we can call as preservatives. Next one is buffers. Buffers are using in order to, always remember, buffers are using in order to maintain the optimum pH. So for the solution, buffers are, we are using the buffers in order to maintain the optimum pH for proper solubility of the drug. For proper solubility, for example, if a drug is soluble at pH 5, then we are maintaining pH 5. At pH 5, the drug is soluble. But in this case, but in the case of suspension, what we are doing means optimum pH is maintained to minimize the solubility. So suspension, nothing but this. 1000 molecules are there in the suspension. Means in the droplet, in the solid, 1000 molecules are there. In the, if molecule is released like this in the solvent, we can call it as a solution. For the solution, the maximum solubility of drug is needed. For the solution, maximum solubility of the drug is needed. For suspension, we are, in order to prevent or in order to minimize the solubility of drug. See, if we are maintaining the pH 5 for this suspension, means all the drugs get solubilized. You cannot get the suspension here. You cannot get the suspension in this case. You can get solution. At pH 5, this drug is soluble, means we no need to maintain the pH 5 for this suspension. We should maintain below 5. Below 5 pH we need to maintain. Then the drug is unable to dissolve in the given solvent, hence the suspension is retained, hence the suspended particle is retained as it is. So in order to minimize the solubility of the drug, buffers we are using.